everybody. So today I'm going to be doing a different sort of video. I am going to be doing my nails, but I'm going to be doing kind of a get to know me video as well as my money story. Basically this video will be divvied up into a 3-part portion. And while I explain these things, I'll just be doing my nails. I won't be explaining what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing. But it's just something for you guys to watch me do, I guess, instead of me nervously wringing my hands the entire time. So, yeah, but the first part will just be a little bit getting to know me because I haven't really said anything about me personally on this channel. And then the middle part will be my money story as far as like money and me in my childhood, like how money affected me in my childhood. And then my money story as I was as an adult, I suppose. So I am going to, well, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna explain what the heck I'm doing because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I'm just gonna do this. And this might end up turning into a voiceover if I'm being very not focused with my words. So while I'm trying to do this. Crap, I need my cuticle pusher. Okay. So, start out, I suppose, with telling you guys my name, because I've never said my name on here. My name is Desiree. People call me Des. I am 36 years old, despite my channel name saying debt-free by 43. It's because that has been my goal, is to be debt-free with everything, including my mortgage, by the time that I am 43 years old. We live in Wisconsin, which a lot of people probably wonder why the heck we live in Wisconsin, because it's so cold. Wisconsin has this interesting way of being so beautiful in the spring and the summer that makes you kind of forget how horrible it is in the winter. But like today, it's November 19th, I believe, and it was 27 degrees taking my kids to school this morning. It's pretty miserable. We've already had a little bit of snow, not too much though, but we will have snow until March and freezing temperatures. But we live in rural Wisconsin. Let's see, you guys know I have 3 kids. Their names are Damien, Hunter, and Delilah, my youngest. You guys know that because their envelopes are labeled that. I just never said it. I think I was just nervous about like people that I know in real life finding my videos, but really my kids have unique names. They're all born in April, which is unique in itself. I have a unique tattoo on my arm. So we have unique things in our budget, like we have the MI house, we have land up north. So if people that knew me in real life would find this, they would know it's me without the fact that I haven't said my name. So I don't know why I was so nervous, but yeah, so what I do for a living is I am a medical laboratory scientist. So most people don't know what that is. I used to work in a hospital lab. So basically when you go in, not like when you go to visit your physician, like for a well checkup. Usually you don't see us or have anything to really do with us, but like let's say you go in, and you're really not feeling good. And they do like blood work, right? They draw your blood, or even, maybe you're having experience of a UTI, or even in today's, right, like maybe you're having COVID symptoms and you get swabbed. The nurse is usually collecting the swabs on you, or maybe like a tech is collecting that. A phlebotomist is probably collecting the blood on you, but then it goes to the lab, and there's people in the lab that are running those tests on you, and that is what I do. So a lot of people don't know about our profession, right? Because the lab is this mysterious place that, the doctors say like, oh, it's got to go to the lab, and, the lab is taking so long to process your tests, and we don't know when the lab will have your results, and the lab is this and the lab is that, and nobody really knows what the lab is, where the lab is, or who the lab is. So therefore, it puts our career in the secrecy of what we do. I mean, even to other medical professionals, a lot of nurses don't even realize what we do on a day-to-day basis, even though they bring us specimens to the lab. They don't even realize that what our job entails. They don't realize that we are college-educated people. So because of that, our job has had quite the shortage of people coming out of college for our profession. So before the pandemic, we had quite a critical shortage of medical laboratory professionals already. And quite honestly, our pay compared to nursing is not comparable, even though the education is just as rigorous. So medical laboratory scientists are a lot like nursing, where there's a 2-year program or there's a 4-year program, just like nursing has like the LPN program or the RN program. So there's an MLT program, or there's it used to be called MT program, but now it's an MLS program. And so you could do a 2-year or a 4-year. The 4-year obviously gets you into more superior positions like management, supervisory positions. And in some labs, they don't allow like the MLTs to work in like blood banking and microbiology and some of the more advanced departments, but in smaller hospitals, that's not the case. You are a generalist and you work in all departments. But anyways, so before the pandemic, there was already a shortage. And then after or during, there was such a surge of a need of people to perform PCR testing, the testing for COVID. A lot of the techs had to work mandatory overtime, and and it was hard because I got out of the hospital lab kind of right at the cusp of the pandemic. I say unfortunately because I feel bad kind of getting out of the hospital right as the pandemic kind of hit. I went into a research lab at that time. So I still do the same testing that I would do in a hospital lab, but it's on subjects. There's not much I can talk about that because it is confidential. But I went to research basically. So I know that there's a lot of striking in our career profession right now, and I know there's a lot of push for increasing our wages, and there has been. I think there's still like a long way to go, to make ours, and in healthcare in general. I know that there's a lot of striking in the nursing field as well. So anyways, kind of went on a tangent. Sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm a big advocate for our career field, and I think like we really need to bring more lab professionals into our career field. We need to make more people aware. We need to have more competitive wages. We're very important. I mean, it is kind of discouraging when people don't think that, you know, we went to college for this, especially when, you know, 70% of the testing that we do is what your doctor based their diagnosis off of. I mean, wouldn't you hope that the people that are performing that testing went to college? I mean, I would. So that's kind of discouraging, but I mean, we've been under a veil for so long. We're just kind of the people, we're like the healthcare heroes behind the curtain. And quite honestly, that's what most of us want to be. So it's understandable. So that's what I do for a living. I'm a medical laboratory scientist. And anytime that you have any testing done, that's what we do. That's what people like me do. And I think it's very rewarding. It's a job that you have to be very on top of your game all the time because somebody's life depends on it, you know? You can't have an off day. I'm probably just like killing these cuticles, man. Sorry, Erica, if you're watching. So I went to research, and that has been a game changer. I started as a generalist. I started as the 2-year program, went back for my bridge program. So I got my 4-year degree, my MLS, and then I specialized as a transfusion services. So transfusion services is blood banking, so people that needed to receive blood transfusions. That is a very complicated area to work because not all blood is just compatible with people. So I specialized in that. I was a technical specialist for that for 3 years. And then we had an LIS change, and then I was kind of like tapped out at that point because you change people's computers that they've worked on for 10 years in healthcare, and they are just done. I was too, so found a research job, and it is nice. It is nice. It's very kind of small businessy like. I like it. So that's where I have been the last 1.5 years. It's close to work, or close to home, I mean. Yeah. So, like I said, we live in Wisconsin. We have our farm here, so we are on 4 acres, and that's where I do my flower farm business. Is on our private residence, and then we do own the 40 acres about a few hours away from where we currently reside. I should see if I can insert some pictures of that just to show you guys. I think it's amazing. I mean, it's just woods really, but you know. Okay. So that's kind of about me. Told you about my career. Told you about where we live. What else can I tell you? I think that's about it. So I think now I'll start sharing my money story growing up, because I think it's not typical. And I think what's important about it is, so I listened to a podcast, Financial Feminist. If you guys haven't listened to it, I suggest that you listen to it. It really made me aware of a lot of things. But in there, she asks you about like your money memories from like when you're a kid, and how like sometimes, or I think it said in there that those money memories that you have as a kid really shapes how you handle money now, like as an adult. And I was like, really? Is that really true? But then I thought about it for like a while, and I was like, oh, maybe that is true. Like maybe that really is true. So, so I'm just trying to see if there's any like big chunks of cuticle or something that I need to try to get out. The hell was that? So I was getting on about my money story as a child. So I started working when I was young. I think I started when I was 14, started working as a cashier, or no, a bagger at a grocery store. And when I started working, my parents always had control over my money. Well, primarily my dad. My mom really didn't have any say over the situation. My parents always had the keeping up with the Joneses sort of lifestyle, even though they didn't have the keeping up with the Joneses wage, if you know what I'm saying. So, so when I was 14, I was a bagger, and yeah, so I would work the 20 hours I think you were allowed to work after school, and half my paycheck was put into my college fund, and half my paycheck I was allowed to, use for whatever. When I was 16, I started working as a cashier, making a little bit more money, and then did I work there till I was 18? I think so. Basically, I worked there until I was 18, and my parents pretty much controlled my paychecks up until that point. And then came the time that I wanted to get into college, and I was filling out my FAFSA, and that was the time that my parents, like during that time, I think when I was when I was 14, my parents got divorced, but during that time, like during like a 5-year stint, my parents went back and forth through court fighting over custody of my younger brother. And during the time that I was filing for my FAFSA, my dad let me know that I no longer had a college fund because they needed to use it for my brother's custody battle. And I know at that point I was like feeling pretty defeated about it because I had worked for 4 years. Like, I mean, it was pennies, like realistically, because I was making like minimum wage, but I still had put away like half my income for working for 4 years, thinking into this college fund, thinking that it would be there for me for college when I wanted to go to college, and it was not there. And so that really kind of hit me where it hurt. And then I think what complicated things even worse was because of this, they had like a very nasty divorce, and because of the divorce, when I filed for the FAFSA, you have to like put your parents' tax information in there. Well, my dad wouldn't give me his tax information because he was worried that I would give it to my mom. So he wouldn't give me his tax information. So I ended up not being able to file for the FAFSA to get aid for several years. So I ended up not going to college several years after when I wanted to, basically. And it was a battle for several years, that whole situation. and it sucked. But what ended up happening was I had my son. I had my son when I was 22, and at that point, the government thinks that I'm adult enough that, even though I was not married, thinks I'm adult enough that I don't need my parents' tax returns because I've had a child, and then I was able to file for the FAFSA on my own. So that's what I did at that point, and I was able to get aid at that point, which probably helped me because then I got all the aid that I needed to cover for college versus them declaring that I needed X amount of aid based on their income. So that's kind of how my college shaked out. You know, like I needed a car, and I was trying to get, because I wasn't living with my father, I moved out, I think pretty early, 17, maybe just right when I turned 18, and I needed a vehicle, and I didn't have, obviously, like a whole ton of money. It must have been when I was 18. But I didn't have a ton of money saved up. So my dad said that he would co-sign for me, but he would only co-sign a new vehicle. He would not co-sign a used vehicle for me. So I was like, well, why? I can't afford, you know, a new car payment. So I remember going to the dealership. I'm 18 years old. You know, I work at like a grocery store making no money. And the dealership's like, oh yeah, we can get you, you know, whatever car. And I was like, what car can I get? I literally asked the dealership. I was like, what car can I get that has a monthly payment of $99? And he was like, nothing. And I was like, well, then I can't afford any of these cars. And he's like, yeah, you can. And I was like, no, I can't. But I had no means of transportation because once I moved out from my dad was letting me drive his minivan. Once I had moved out, I had no vehicle. But I needed to move out because if you can imagine, you know, just with the whole FAFSA thing and everything like that, there was obviously much more controlling things going on besides that. So I just needed to get out of there. But, yeah, so he said he would co-sign for me, but it had to be a new car. So then I somehow ended up agreeing. I said, okay, fine, like, I'll get a Hyundai Accent, you know, like the cheapest car. It was like a Hyundai Accent. And I said, but I don't want air conditioning in it. And he was like, you have to get air conditioning in it. He's like, you have to. And he's like, I won't sign for you if you won't. And I was like, are you serious? Because it was like an extra $800 or something. So I ended up agreeing. And then come to find out, we sit down, he can't even co-sign for me because his credit is so bad. So his dad my grandpa ended up co-signing for me. Ugh, such a mess. So yeah, and I mean, that spans beyond my childhood. Like, there was another time, like, my dad was needing some money, so we ended up buying his SUV for cash from him. It turned out to be a lemon that he didn't tell me about. Like, the tires would cup horribly on it, so he had replaced the tires right before he sold it to me. And then I paid him in cash, and then he didn't pay off the loan, so then the title was held, and he wouldn't give me the title and told me that he would give me the title, and I was like, I think that's illegal, like, I need the title. I just don't know with some people. So that's kind of just like how money was for me. Like, getting started with money in life was difficult. Like, it shouldn't have been that difficult because I had parents that earned money, but they were poor with money. So because of that, you know, they couldn't help me out, which, you know, I get, like, if you're in a bad situation, but like, I just feel like some of their choices were wrong, you know, like spending the money that I put aside for student loans on a custody battle is wrong. Sorry. That's what I think. Okay. Oh shoot, I should have done this before I did my base coat. Is this sticky? Oh no, it is sticky. Is it supposed to be sticky? I think I'm supposed to take the stickiness off. Okay. So now getting into my money as an adult. So obviously, you know, I approached money as a young adult kind of, I felt like I had a good head on my shoulders to an extent, but I also, you know, didn't have a lot of good experience with money. And I kind of didn't know. All right, hold on. Let me pick these out and then we'll come back. Now I have to like do this, huh? Oh no, what if I do this wrong? Okay, this is the part I've never done before, guys. Okay. Onto the nail molds. Should I do my thumb first? Or should I do my pinky first? I feel like I should do my pinky first. I don't feel like I should put it here. Is that even right? The right? Is this really green? Okay, now what? Okay, we'll see about that. All right. So anyways, as I tried to do this, how long do I want this? Oh, not much longer. Not much longer at all. And I want him to be kitty cat. Kitty cat claws. And they need to be up the sidewall, I know that. So my money story as an adult. Okay, sorry guys, I really need to concentrate right now. So I don't flip this up. That's what I got, guys. Do you think I should put it on? Oh my god, I'm so scared. Okay, let's do it. Two minutes. Oh god, you guys, that was stressful. Well, anyways, my money story, huh? So, my money story as an adult. So, my husband and I got married well, we had our first son before we got married. We were living together when we were very young. We got pregnant with our son when we were very young. I got pregnant with him when I was 22. And then we got married about a year and a half after we had him. We got married in '09 in September. Nope, just kidding. October. We had purchased our first home together in September. And we purchased a new vehicle in September. Got married in October. And in December of '09, we both, on the same day, because we worked at the same place, got laid off of our jobs. So that was during the '09 recession. So obviously a lot of people were out of work at that time. And we really struggled. At that point, we both worked at like a landscape company. We were young still. I was going to school at that time for my MLT. So I was currently in school, and this was just a job at that time for me to work while I was going to school. And yeah, we had just got married, just purchased our home, and was faced with one of the biggest money problems that we were going to face in our marriage very early on. And my husband was actually on the wait list to get into his apprenticeship program that he was also trying to get into, that he is now part of, that is now his career as well. So we both were just like on our way to getting our careers taking off, but we're not there yet. So we both were working, not, oh God, let's see if this works. I'm so scared, you guys. Oh no. Oh. Okay. I mean, for a first try, that came out not so bad. She's a little pointy. Everything's sticky. Well, that's sticky. I don't know if I need some paper towel. Hold on. So should I just move it around the spatula? Oh no. So yeah, very quickly, well, that night I came home pretty much and cried, and instantly the first thing I did was I started making things from scratch for our freezer. I started making pasta from scratch. I started making bread from scratch. I started learning things that I never learned before. I mean, at that point, we hadn't really learned, or I hadn't known. I knew how to cook. I knew how to cook pretty well, but like, I didn't know how to make a lot of things from scratch. And I'll be damned, I was going to find out. I was going to learn, because I knew like that was a way that I could save us a lot of money, because we were very quickly not going to have a lot of money. I mean, we went from having, not a lot of income, because it was a retail job. It was a landscape company that we worked for. And he ended up going down, like out of business with the recession. Yeah, we ended up having, not a ton of money, but going down to no money. I instantly got on the horn and started reaching out for any assistance that we might be qualified for. Did qualify for some food stamps, but because we still had our house, and because we were getting unemployment, we only qualified for $36 a month, which I realize, you know, like, you're getting unemployment money, but literally, like, to save our house, like, our unemployment money, like, pretty much paid for our house during that time. And, you know, I didn't pay for our house, actually. Like, we did so much stuff in order to save our house. I mean, you see my student loan balance, a lot of that was to save our house, to be honest. I took out a lot more student loan debt because I had to pay our mortgage because I couldn't even think about losing our home. And really, like, our mortgage, so we bought our house at that time from our husband's family. So we were given a gift of equity with that house. Not a huge gift of equity, but still a gift of equity, which we didn't really see in the '09 recession, but we would see later when we sold that house. So selling the house in the recession, we would have lost that whole gift of equity. But even so, because we bought it with that gift of equity, the house mortgage was pretty low. So our mortgage amount was pretty low. To find a house that had a 2-bedroom, I mean, you know, getting 2 bedrooms because of our son, and really that was a 3-bedroom house. To find something comparable to rent, we would be finding something comparable in renting pricing anyways. So it's not like if we sold it, we would have really made out any differently. You know what I mean? It's not like we would have... Does this one fit? Ooh. It's not like we would have saved a ton of money, like if we would have sold the house. And I think, like, food stamps, like, you know, they're kind of like, well, if you can afford a house, like, then you can afford food. And it's like, well, yes, I mean, I can afford a house payment, but also, like, somebody needs shelter. You know, I need a place to live. And how is that different than paying rent? Oh, come on, lamp. Why you gotta do this to me? So they gave us $36 a month, which pretty much paid for, like, milk and bread, and that's about it. I mean, you know, some other little things. I was thankful for the $36 because, quite honestly, it did help us. We weren't qualified for heating help. We weren't qualified for rental help because of the unemployment we were getting. So we had to get creative and find other ways to help us get through. I mean, because our unemployment and what we were getting supplemental for food stamps was not going to cover the monthly bills. That house, even though it was cheap in mortgage, it was insane to heat that house. And like I said earlier in this video, we live in Wisconsin, so it gets really cold. What's great about here is after a certain date, they can't cut off the heat if you don't pay your bill. So we did do that. You know, after a while, we couldn't pay our bill, and we didn't because we knew that they couldn't cut off the heat because it's too cold to cut off the heat here. And that's just what we had to do because we had to choose. We also rented out, we had like a bi-level house. We rented out our basement level to a friend and charged him rent for it so that we could help pay bills that way. And quite honestly, there were days that we went to bed hungry and we fed our son, and that's all there was to it. Like, there wasn't money for food, you know? So it really taught us a lot in our early 20s about, you know, not having money and ways that and also, like, we did try to do odd jobs as well. I went to the old sitters that we used to go to that would watch our son, and like we mowed their hayfield and they would pay us. I would go off like the gig website on Craigslist, which is pretty sketchy, honestly. I ended up someplace in Milwaukee and some like big warehouse, and that got really kind of worrisome. And luckily I had it in my head to not go back there, because that was kind of dangerous. But like we did odd jobs. My husband, moved snow to get cash, but we were unemployed for a total of 1.5 years before I finally landed my job at the hospital. So I finished my whole school. So mind you, I was going to school this entire time, which also complicated things with finding jobs, was because I could find a job. Well, that was kind of hard. I mean, finding a job in itself was hard, but when things got easier to find a job, I could find a job, but I was starting to approach clinicals, and I could get the job, or I could just tough it out the last few months to do clinicals and then get a job in my field once I graduated. Because if I would have got a job, clinicals was like 8 to whatever, then I would have had to push off clinicals, and I didn't know. I forgot how many times I'm doing this, so I'll just keep doing it. So really that, it just, you do the best that you can do, and you make decisions based off what you think is the best ones at the time, and it ended up being good. During my clinical rotation, 81 miles away from my clinical site. So I literally cried when I got my clinical rotation, because I had to drive every day 81 miles. So I was taking my unemployment money, like my no money, and would drive to go to clinicals. I also found out I was pregnant during that time, and I was so sick. So I would literally like put a garbage can in my car and drive, and drive to clinicals, and and show up there. And like the techs at my clinical site knew my story, because I would come like in these scrubs that I like found at Goodwill, because like I couldn't afford scrubs, and like the techs took me down to like this closet, and they have like I forget what it's called, but like a closet where you can put like your old scrubs and other people can take them. And so they got me some more scrubs, but they're all like sizes that didn't fit me. And at the end of your clinical rotation, before you can work, well, you could work, but like within 1 year of your employment, you need to pass this board exam, and it costs $200 that you have to take this board exam. And so I passed my clinicals. I got hired at that hospital 81 miles away from where we worked. I applied for 17 other positions, but, it was the height of the recession, and they wanted people with experience, and luckily this place knew me, so it worked out. And they gave me the job, and but I had to go take my board exam, and it was $200, and I didn't have money, obviously. And one of the techs there wanted to buy my board exam for me, and I was like in tears, but I told her no. I said, I'll do it. I'll get it with my first paycheck, It's just so hard. It's amazing where like life takes you and leads you and stuff. So yeah, after 1.5 years, I finally landed the position at the hospital. I think I knew I got the job in February. I think I started in March, and I had my son in April, because they're all born in April. So then I promptly went on a maternity leave that was unpaid, because I had just started the job. So talk about the struggle. And then my husband got called off the wait list for his apprenticeship, so he got called into his apprenticeship in April. So like we both got off of that 1.5 years year and a half unemployment stint then. So all that to say, it's amazing how different like all of our cards fall, you know? And I'm really, as much as that struggle was real, and like my husband's parents literally were godsends to us, like literally. They helped us so much. I mean, they came and they stayed with us during that time and paid us rent, which helped us. They weren't there that the whole time, but they did help us. But yeah, it's just, as much as that time period sucked in our life, it taught me so much. I mean, it really did. Because without that life lesson, like I really wonder how I'd handle money today. Oh man. Erica's probably laughing at me as I do this. This one I did not do right because I can see my nail. I mean, I think I could put like a little bit. I think I could put a little bit more. This one I need some more. But yeah, it's just, I mean, that's obviously like the most profound thing that has happened to us, and I hope that's the only most profound thing that has happened to us. I mean, that's enough, right? Like, that has been enough. I don't need any more life lessons about money. Like, that has taught me a lot. That has taught me a lot. Thank you. So yeah, that's why my student loan number is quite high, is because we ended up taking out a lot of loans to basically save our house and to like survive, because you know, I wasn't granted a lot of help from the government, which, you know, it is what it is. That one isn't cute. And I think because of that too, like my husband and I, we really don't fight about money, ever. Because for so long we didn't have money. It just wasn't something to ever fight about. So that's kind of the story I wanted to share with you guys. I guess I'm out of stuff to talk about now. Oh, Marlene did ask me on my Instagram. She asked me, how did my budgeting change between 6 months and 12 months? Like 6 months ago, 12 months ago, like how much has it changed? It really hasn't. I mean, besides the point that I've tried now to budget like my variables. But other than that, it really... And I started this horrible 52-week challenge. You see me trying to make this almond shape? But then, like, some of them are so long. Is that one crooked? Oh, no! Is that one crooked? We're gonna pretend it's not crooked. I gotta look at that. Okay, are you crooked? You look crooked. But yeah, my budgeting hasn't really changed. I just started to try to budget my variables. which has been going okay for me. I don't try to budget my husband's. He's too complicated. All right, I'm going to come back and show you the finished product because I'm not going to keep you guys around for all these nails. Hi, everybody. It's several hours later. You guys see my nails? They're okay. Hi, can you lay down? Can you lay down? This one kind of looks like a shovel, but the rest of them I think look okay. We struggled. I don't know. They turned out okay for my first try, for sure. I'm pretty pleased with them. It is now pretty much dinner time. This did not take me that long, but it did take me like 3 hours. I'm not even gonna lie. It did take me a very long time. So I'm glad that I didn't talk to you guys for 3 hours worth of time. But so I think I left off at the idea, or I think I left off telling you guys about us getting hired out of the recession. So that's pretty much how we spent our first year and a half of marriage, was broke and poor. We sold the house shortly after we got our first careers. The market had come back at that point, so we did get our gift of equity, but it was still pretty small. It was about, I think it was about $10,000. It should have been a lot more, but it was about $10,000, and we went and we rented an apartment for a year, and we paid off all of our debt except for my student loans at that time, which at the time I had graduated, I had started my career, and I had promptly went back to school for my 4-year, so my student loans were in deferment again. Anyways, so they were kind of out of sight, out of mind at that point. So we weren't paying on them, but we had no car payments. That time that we were debt-free is the time when I bought the car from my father. That was a lemon with cash, which is kind of how we have the 2 car payments that we have now, was because we bought that car, and then we had a paid off car also of our own during that time. Let me think. I mean, we've had good things happen to us with money. It's not all doom and gloom, like some good situations, like the gift of equity that my husband's parents gifted us with, that allowed us to have that moment of debt-freeness. It was very minimal, but it was a time that we were able to be debt-free, besides the student loans, consumer debt-free and everything, and that was really great. We also, when we bought this house, it was a foreclosure, and now we're sitting in a really good spot again with a house with a lot of equity in the house. We bought the Michigan house with cash, so that has worked for us. So yeah, we've had a lot of money wins. I feel like we've learned a lot early on in our marriage from our experiences that have set us up for these money wins, because we didn't have a lot of money wins, I guess, early on. But yeah, so that's my money story. I kind of wanted to tell you guys how it went, what our background was with money before I got into our debt confession, just because I think there's a lot to tell about how people manage money, on how they were brought up with money, and also how they managed money early on. like how they learn to manage money early on in their early 20s. So thanks for listening to my money story, guys. Thanks for watching me do my nails. And Erica from Black and Blue, huge shout out to her for answering all my questions, but also she says they look really good. I think she's being nice. But I think they don't look bad for the first time. So thanks for watching, guys. Bye.